CalJam, short for California Jam, a seemingly innocuous and niche convention held every year in Southern California. According to their website, this convention has existed since 2007 when Billy DeMoss, chiropractor, wanted to blend a rock concert with a health-focused TED Talk-style convention. Simple, right? On closer examination, CalJam is not simply a health convention. It's a trade convention for a specific profession, chiropractors. And while I've had, in the past, reason to be concerned with the behavior of some chiropractors, nothing notable should have alerted me to this convention in specific, until I saw this.
One of the questions that we engaged in with the CDC some years ago and in the US Congress was why, if so many children get the vaccine, then why are relatively few of those, at least until now, rendered autistic? Timing, as you know, is everything, and the hypothesis that we put forward to the CDC in 2001 is that it was timing. Is it possible that the younger you get the MMR vaccination, the greater the risk of autism?
That is infamous anti-vaxxer Andrew Wakefield giving a keynote speech to thousands of people at CalJam in 2016. Why was an anti-vaxxer there? Andrew Wakefield is not a chiropractor. On further investigation, it became clear this is not a random mistake, but a systematic pattern of various guests discussing dangerous and unproven pseudoscience to thousands of people in attendance who claimed to be health professionals. Something was rotten at CalJam. There was no other option. I had to know for myself, so I got a little bit of crowdfunding together, and I went undercover at CalJam. I suppose we should start at the beginning. A year ago, I got the idea in my head that I wanted to make a documentary about anti-vaxxers. Part of this project would be infiltrating their conventions so I can see firsthand for myself what they were like and report on them accurately. There were a few conventions I considered, but CalJam was in my top 3, mostly because of the guest list. As far as I knew, CalJam was a convention for anti-vaxxers and conspiracy theorists. I had no idea it was a trade convention. CalJam started as a mixture of a rock and roll concert meets a health symposium, as Billy DeMoss, the founder of CalJam, phrased it back in 2015 when appearing on InfoWars.
Well, the vision is just to get the world to wake up to what's going on and everything from healthcare to sustainability of the planet. And I've just tried to really make an eclectic menu of different speakers with different topics, from GMO to the Fukushima thing we're going to be talking about this year, to all the geoengineering, to health and nutrition. And I also wanted to get the chiropractic message out to people.
There's a lot to unpack there, but it's reasonable to see how a passive viewer might be convinced this was some alternative health, if not hippie-minded conference. But the fact this interview came from InfoWars and how the conversation progressed made me fully convinced that this was specifically for the hardcore conspiracy theorist crowd.
I mean, as a kid, I grew up a big rock and roll fan. I mean, I grew up on Black Sabbath, Deep Purple, and there was this huge event out in Ontario called California Jam. And there would be literally this mass of people, 250,000 people, going to an event, and I've always visualized if we could get people on the same plane of everything that you and I know and get them awakened and then empowered, then we can take that action to really make change in this world and go against the forces that are the global elite.
With this in mind, it was easy to ignore the stated purpose for the convention on their website. The driving objective of the event is to get attendees up to date on chiropractic research, scientific studies, and useful practice management strategy. So if a pseudoscience conference could disguise itself as some wellness symposium, so too would I don a disguise. And the name of that disguise? Lance Conrad. The transformation into Lance Conrad was going to be rather extensive. I didn't want to go into anything with half effort, so I started turning vegan for 2 weeks before even attending the conference. I shaved off most of my beard. I already feel like a wildly different person without my full beard. I look a lot younger. I got my hair cut and bleached. As well, I then went and got spray tanned. That was quite an adventure. But who was Lance? Lance is just a lonely guy who found some answers through some anti-vax and conspiracy theorist wingnuts on the internet. And so he wanted to go and meet some of his heroes.
I'm going to California, I'm going to CalJam, guys! This is gonna be so great. I am really excited, alright?
So on February 14th of 2020, Lance Conrad showed up in Costa Mesa, California to attend his very first CalJam.
I made it, down here in Costa Mesa. About to go into CalJam. This place is pretty cool, check it out. That's your boy Lance here, staying in some luxury. Not bad, not bad. I think where we're going is right down here. I think that's where the Surger Strom event center thing is. But yeah, we're gonna go check it out. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Can't wait. Let's go.
The preparation for this trip wasn't just a personal transformation. No, we needed gear as well. We brought a Canon SL2. We brought a Zoom H1N audio recorder. And we had a super secret spy pen camera. More on that later. And while I was undergoing a transformation in preparation for CalJam, Billy DeMoss, the one who runs CalJam, was interviewing chiropractor and AIDS denialist John Bergman.
I'm so psyched. I can hardly wait. This is going to be a blast. We're bringing a ton of patients and going to make a difference, I hope.
And then why don't you tell them why you want to bring patients?
Well, you have to, because the job of a doctor is to be an educator. It's needed to educate the patients because there's such disinformation out there.
Right.
Like Del Bigtree says, misinformation. And that's what we got to put, because, the truth is going to win out.
Patients. He was going to bring his chiropractic patients to a fringe conspiracy convention? What was that about? The more I changed into Lance, the more the purpose of CalJam seemed to warp. And it was on that very first day I finally understood. Okay, so I am here at CalJam. I got my room at the Westin. I arrived here just in time to drop off my bags and then rush over to the event in time to. They had an opening speaker who was a young lady talking about
help make the connection. We do that better than anyone. We can help their body function at a greater level. We can help families experience a better level of health, vibrate at a higher frequency, and feel more connected with their loved ones. Yes?
Among other claims that putting babies in cribs leads to them having mental disorders further on in life. Interesting, but not that terribly bizarre. She did talk a lot about propaganda and about taking the message of chiropractic adjustment to the masses, etc., etc. I thought it was really interesting because she was like, don't worry about taking pictures of my slides, guys. Don't worry about that. I'll have them for you at the end. And then at the end, it was her advertising her website where, well, for 48 hours only, all of my slides, my PowerPoint are going to be on sale. But then Robert F. Kennedy Jr. came out, and it was like somebody had just announced Bruce Springsteen, you know.
Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
People lost their minds. They were so happy. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., for his part, he mostly talked about how he got into the fight against vaccination. Started talking about, you know, where he came from, which is talking about mercury vaccines, thimerosal, and now it's all aluminum, of course. But yeah, no, there was it was like watching a anti-vaxxer YouTube video.
Or all of these Democratic politicians who know, who have spent their lives fighting the corporate domination of democracy. And for them to suddenly say, well, yeah, we know that these companies lie about everything. We know that they're lying about every pharmaceutical drug, they're lying about their medical devices. They wouldn't lie about vaccines. Why not?
I just sit there with my little sunglasses and like, oh yeah, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure. It's also very warm in there, and I have to wear long sleeves to cover up my tattoos. That's kind of a pain in the ass. I have the ability to record as much as I'm allowed to. I'm not allowed to take a large camera like this into the big speaking engagement. But yeah, I mean, it's going fine so far. The real big test is gonna be the gala dinner tonight. And for that, I'm gonna have to be rather clever. But I don't foresee really any big problems happening. I do think it's really interesting though, that when I was walking up to CalJam the very first time, I was right behind Patrick Gentempo, who I've made YouTube videos about. And he looked right at me, and he didn't recognize me at all. So, this incredibly expensive disguise seems to be working. The rest of the afternoon was spent gathering my cameraman and attending a handful of talks.
Are viruses from chickens and cows being incorporated into the human genome? Are retroviruses being incorporated into the human genome without detection, leading to health problems throughout life? What about those other foreign cells that have DNA in them? Are they being incorporated because they cannot be detected? They can't be detected once they're incorporated into the DNA. Who do you think said that? It was me.
My mind was solely focused on the gala dinner. But before we get there, I think it's important that we understand just how deep conspiracy plays a role in this convention. Earlier I mentioned that noted anti-vaccine superstar Andrew Wakefield was a regular attendee. Here is Billy DeMoss interviewing him in 2015 to promote his documentary, Who Killed Alex Sportolakis? The story of an autistic boy who was murdered by his mother.
And that autism was created, in my opinion, I'm sure almost to some degree yours, is by the medical community.
Oh, indeed. You know, the irony of this is the pharmaceutical industry, in my opinion, caused the problem going in, and they benefit from the problem coming out.
It's a wild accusation that the pharmaceutical industry causes autism to then profit off of treating that autism. But their conspiracy goes even further.
Now, you had mentioned to me earlier, too, that, I mean, the reason this whistleblower thing didn't hit mainstream media like it should, and I thought it was maybe possibly the fact that, you know, we want to throw up these false flags like the Ebola hoax, which are thrown out there to distract people from other, obviously, newsworthy documents. We stated earlier that, you know, obviously the media is controlled by our friends at the pharmaceutical companies.
Oh, no doubt. They're all in bed together, these people.
And if them controlling the media isn't enough, here's another interview they did a year later.
It's just move everything over to the CDC, the FDA, all that stuff. All that stuff is paid off. It's all a scam, and it's all ready to freaking implode, dude, because so many people are waking up. And it's the reason we're getting this huge, just mandatory push to, if they're not going to do it, we're just going to make it, force them to do it. And I think that's pushing people back even more. It's just like the whole thing with here in the States. Well, let's have a bunch of false flag, like Sandy hoaxes and things to push the gun control issue. But
Did you catch that? It's easy to miss.
Sandy hoaxes and...
Sandy hoax, referencing the Sandy Hook shooting, where a grown man murdered 26 people, 20 of which were children between the ages of 6 and 7. Billy DeMoss, head of CalJam, thinks that's a hoax. As the California sunshine slowly faded away, me and my cameraman got ourselves dressed and headed to the gala dinner. This is when disaster struck. That pen camera? It didn't work, leaving me with no footage. However, we did get some rather charming selfies of Lance Conrad hamming it up with Patrick Gentempo, Sherry Tenpenny, and Edward Group from InfoWars. But the selfie I wanted most of all, that took a little bit of finesse. I had to chat up the driver for the actual vaxxed bus so that he would introduce me to Polly Tommy. After a long day, I went to bed, eager to catch as many speakers on day 2 as possible. So it's day 2 here at CalJam. Last night was interesting, to say the least. I got to meet most of the wingnuts. Russell Brand wasn't at the gala dinner, unfortunately. Probably the worst thing that could have happened. The spy camera, it didn't record. I'm gonna try again tonight at the after party, but I imagine the after party is gonna be a bit different than the gala dinner, but it was very interesting. It was very interesting to get to meet these people. Polly Tommy, Patrick Gentempo, Edward Group. Edward Group's a really nice guy. You know, these are these are people who say and do terrible, terrible things. But they're very charming, you know. I started my day as early as possible, making it a point to check out the convention floor. Despite the amount of products and chiropractic adjustments going on, I was still convinced that this was a wingnut convention. Watching Polly Tommy didn't really help to change that perspective.
Oh, chiropractors, I have to say before I start, I love you guys so much. You're going to hear about that. You're going to hear about that. I want to say this. There is no such thing as a spaced out safe schedule. Alright, you need to listen. Listen, it's very important. Don't think you can pick up a book or you can listen to some friendly doctor who says, don't worry, just space them out. You can't space them out any more than this child had. There's no single measles, mumps and rubella vaccine. It's the MMR. And now he's going damage for life.
So while Polly continued to rant about vaccines, on the other side of the walls were sponsors like Vox Life, who sell special socks, Systemic Formulas, who sell herbal supplements specifically to chiropractors, 2 different chiropractic schools, and something called $1 Billion Mission, which is literally a marketing program for chiropractors to get as many new clients as possible. With these types of products, one might even consider CalJam a trade convention, but then you have wingnuts like this guy, sitting in the hall like a cult leader. By the way, his talk was just bizarre.
I've been after those maniacs who are running the scientism companies we call Big Pharma, which is basically, right, you've got the scientific method, very powerful method of knowledge, that immediately is attracting parasites. You've got to know this. We'll get into this. Right? And that's how we end up with the scientism. which is the new default religion. So the religious fundamentalism never went away, just flip-flopped. You think like, oh no, we're changing that. No. The default system of our whole civilization is our harmonic principle. Scientism, right? It's a parasite system, where it's like, oh, you don't believe our science? Well, we got all this science right here. It's like, well, yeah, that was checkbook science. What do you mean? It was bought. What about all these studies you didn't show us? Those don't exist. We're going to get rid of you before we look at that, right? That's the fundamentalism. We're going to get rid of the evidence before we have to change our theory. This is our whole civilization suffering from this. And Rudolf Steiner called it an harmonic deception.
Between some of the biggest names in anti-vax and David Avocado Wolf claiming that science is basically a trick by the devil, you can get the vibe that CalJam puts out. However, when we took a break for lunch, I got to speak with some of the fellow attendees, and every single one of them was a chiropractor. And while I took a walk to clear my head, I remembered something I had said earlier that morning. And I'm learning what CalJam is about. CalJam, if you ask me, is even more nefarious than I thought. It's weird because you start to realize, being here at CalJam, that this whole thing is a marketing system. Chiropractors and companies are trying to sell their ideas, sell their systems or their supplements or whatever to other chiropractors and try to teach them how to teach their patients all this stuff. Drink your bone broth or you're gonna get leaky gut. Vaccines cause autism. Things like that. And they just openly and brazenly talk about it because why wouldn't they, you know? I'm realizing that this is the perfect consolidation of predatory business, and it's exactly the problem. This whole thing is indicative of why this is such a problem. This was about to be proven far more right than I had any idea previously. After lunch, I headed back to the convention and watched 2 more speakers before going back to my room and filming this. I got to go see John Bergman, and he surprisingly didn't say anything too explosively stupid, but he was effectively running the same kind of grift, right? So he's like selling his slides to fellow chiropractors. He basically casts doubt on anything that's traditional medicine.
Do you really think the gastroenterologist is looking for that autonomic dysfunction? You think that a urologist has even a clue that when you put in the body, that's where neurotransmitters are produced in the gut? No, this is a completely dysfunctional system.
You know, for the most part, he seemed reasonable compared to some of the other ones. That wasn't the most interesting part. The most interesting part was the guy that came on afterwards.
Let's give it up for Dr. Cohen. Come on, bring it.
So he teaches chiropractic at one of what they say there are only 3 schools.
Heard over the weekend, we've got issues with most of our schools. It is true, there are 3 schools that are teaching chiropractic. And I'm unabashed, I'll tell you who they are. It's Life Left, Life East, and Sherman. But do not let a prospective student pick a college based on geographical location. Don't do it.
I guess that there are more. I didn't know this. I'm learning a whole lot about the goings-on in, like, the close-knit circles of chiropractic, you know? But apparently there's a lot of beef going on.
See, folks, that's why I'm here. As a profession, chiropractic is in trouble. I'm here to increase the visibility of a principle so great, so profound, that it has the potential to bring sanity back to a disconnected world and a disconnected society.
And this guy was super mad because he saw this sign where a chiropractor was offering chiropractic services and also tanning booths, and that made him upset because chiropractic needs to have the respect it deserves.
This is what happens when you're confused about who you are. This is what happens. This is chiropractic in the marketplace.
Because I already knew there were kind of different factions, but I didn't know that they beefed this hard. At the core of Mr. Cohen's talk was an anger towards the other chiropractic schools for, in his view, selling out, especially in the face of restrictions being placed on the profession.
Our language is being eliminated. They're trying to eliminate the word subluxation. Stop it. Great word. Great word. And our thoughts and our actions are being contained. Look what's happening in Australia. Children under 2 cannot be adjusted.
And he's not alone. This resentment runs very deep in this particular group of chiropractors. Take, for example, this episode of the CalJam podcast with John Minardi.
But one of the things that came up to me as my alma mater, LACC, is now you can get your prescription refilled there, and you can also get immunized there. I mean, that's like the antithesis of what I stand for. I mean, I've always been anti-prescription drugs for obviously a lot of reasons, because I know there's a better way to handle it. And also, I mean, I'm hugely against immunizations. I mean, because I've done the research and we know what we're talking about. It's not like we just make this stuff up because we don't have anything better to do. Well, if they're truly safe, why don't we do a study between the non-vaccinated and the vaccinated, and we'll look at just a horrific display of how these vaccines really detrimentally affect human health. And I mean, to me, it's just, I see it in my practice. I see the kids that come in that are vaccinated, they got all the issues, and the kids that are unvaccinated don't have any of those issues, you know? Take autism, number one, which we all know is a side effect of vaccines. I mean, it's not a question anymore. It's all a political thing now. There's no question to the science that autism is caused by vaccines. And now it's all the political dance that we got going on in government to try to keep that friggin' sinking ship up, dude. I mean, all you have to do is see the movie Vax, to me. I mean, if you see that movie and you still think vaccines are the way to go, dude, then do it.
At the time, I just found it odd that Mr. Cohen was so obsessed with only sending students to those 3 schools. Maybe he had a financial investment in them, which he does. But I would learn it was much more than that. Remember, I originally thought that CalJam was a conspiracy, an anti-vaxxer convention. That's why I became Lance Conrad, super fan of the Wingnuts. But the truth of what CalJam really is, that became clear that night when I watched Billy DeMoss give his keynote speech ending the event.
Now the war is against your mind. I mean, look how they're coming at us with every different direction. Your phones, fluoride, MSG, friggin' aluminum, mercury. Then, I'm telling you right now, they're after your mind, they're coming for your kids next. You already know that. I'm gonna get into that a little bit. So, you know what? There's no more pussyfooting around. Stop, we're done being pussies, we're gonna step up to the plate. Okay, are you guys with me?
I just want to make something clear. What Billy DeMoss is about to say, including inciting people to stop being quote-unquote pussies, he is saying to an estimated 2,800 people in attendance.
This is a movement. This is a fucking seminar, you got it? This is a movement, man. Because each one of us is going to go out and we're going to take the message to the masses. And it's always about, you know, first we got to wake people up and then empower you by giving you the knowledge, and then we're going to give you some jacuzzi experience. Nothing strengthens authority so much as silence. What did Martin Luther King say? Silence is betrayal. You're betraying your kids by not speaking out. I know. I want to keep a low profile. I got it. I got a lot of shit for people. What? Don't be talking about vaccines, Billy. That's not your job. That's Robert Kennedy's job, okay, man? Let him do that. Don't make us all look bad. You know what? I'm taking my chiropractic hat off and I'm going to be me. Because I care about the kids. The problem with people that say shit like that is because they're not in the trend. They don't feel the pain. And I said it yesterday, and I mean it from my heart. And I think I was on TV in Australia, and they just took that one clip out. Vaccination is a satanic act. It totally is. There's nothing worse than injecting carcinogens and allergens and pus from that. It's work. I mean, witch's brew is freaking cool compared to that. You know what I'm saying? At least it's like animals and newts. You know, at least it's not aluminum and mercury. And when you know the real, true reason why all this shit's going on, then it's the forces of evil that are doing this shit.
And that is the point of CalJam. CalJam is not just an anti-vax or conspiracy convention. CalJam is not just a trade convention for chiropractors. CalJam is a central hub for disseminating political and pseudoscience positions to a specific core audience. That audience are chiropractors, people who are considered to be doctors by the families that trust them. In many cases, these nearly 3,000 people in attendance are trusted above and beyond established medical science by parents, especially those with children on the way. And the anti-vaccine propaganda machine, it utilizes CalJam to push the factually wrong and medically unsound opinion that vaccines are dangerous. Consider this. Thousands of people leave CalJam reinvigorated with the message that not only are vaccines dangerous, but that they are the sole providers of treatment, correcting the damage that comes from them. Say one of those chiropractors has a small practice in Healdsburg, California, or Novi, Michigan, or maybe even Turks and Caicos Islands. They cultivate a community around them of families who are vulnerable to these professionals speaking as an authority. The potential reach for even 2,800 people can be exponential, and when what they spread can have dangerous and even lethal consequences, that, in my opinion, makes CalJam a pseudoscience cancer. And while the anti-vax movement is far, far larger than just CalJam, the ramifications of CalJam also extend far past vaccines. Check this out.
It's not us versus them, got it? It's us versus the big machine. It's us versus the deep state. Who's the lowest? Geoengineering, pushing all the vaccines, spraying on the food, fluoridating water, EMF, 5G everywhere, and all that shit from machine. If I keep going, I'm gonna hit all day. Who's doing this? Well, maybe people that want to get rid of you. You know? That's just basically yes. I mean, if you're that naive to think that they care about you, they got robots for all the shit they don't want us to do. You know? They're not going to need people around here. They are programmed as well by the machine, the Rothschilds and Rockefellers, the deep state. Bring it all together, baby. People, I can't think of you can pull up 50 people off. They own your TV like your coronavirus. Give me a break.
Well, that statement sure didn't age well, did it? We need to address a couple of things. As of recording this video, there is no evidence that chiropractic adjustments have any medical benefit aside from relief from certain back pain. How they describe subluxation is not medically accurate and is in direct conflict with all evidence. However, millions of people all over the world do find benefit from seeing a chiropractor, and many chiropractors have other certifications and can provide very good advice on diet, health, and habits. So by exposing this specific group of chiropractors as troublesome is not a condemnation of them all. In fact, I believe that CalJam is a direct effort by these wingnut anti-vaxxers to command and direct the chiropractic world. As such, my advice as some random guy on the internet, if you find out that your chiropractor went to CalJam, maybe find a different practice. As for the event itself, by the time I left, there was an immense sense of purpose inside of me to share what I experienced with the world, and I knew it would be an uphill battle. The anti-vax movement is far larger than CalJam. It infects government, industry, and religion, but those would have to be other projects altogether. The audience on my YouTube channel as of recording is a seventh of John Bergman, who routinely denies the existence of AIDS, as well as claim vaccines are dangerous on his YouTube channel. But who knows, maybe in the future when things start to get back to normal, we'll have more wingnut conventions popping up. And if we do, you can be sure you'll see the return of Lance Conrad. Well, hello, and thanks for watching my video going undercover at CalJam. What's this next to me? Well, this is a list of heroes that chose to make their donations public for my GoFundMe to send me to CalJam. So thank you very, very much. And thank you also for those who chose to donate privately. I appreciate it. Let's see. It was a very ambitious project. It was very emotionally taxing, but I'm really glad that I did it. It was, however, unfortunately delayed. This video was originally on course to be produced and out in the middle of April, and there was a rather big and important event that happened that pretty much everybody else was talking about, and I was afraid that otherwise the messaging of this video would be lost if I tried to release it in the middle of a pandemic. So it was delayed, but I think the time is right now, so I'm very happy to be done. Let's see, I do plan to do some behind-the-scenes videos after the fact, some things that are not really going to fit in with this video, and also a follow-up as to some of the antics that some of the people from CalJam have been up to since all this crazy things in our world have been going on. It's pretty eye-opening. Please stay tuned to this channel. I want to do more ambitious stuff, more ambitious projects going out there, being more into like investigative journalism rather than just producing videos in my home, and also eventually I do want to make a documentary, so I'm very motivated, especially now that this project is done. Thank you so much for watching, your continued support so much. I can't express how much it means to me. From my family to yours, thank you so much. I'll see you soon. Bye bye everybody.